Hey, yo, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, we've analyzed the trips, we've handicapped the races by the numbers. Now let's take a look at some betting options that perhaps we can have for Breeders' Cup Friday. So let's have at it. So here's our Breeders' Cup betting guide for this year. We're going to start with Friday, and we have races 5 through 9. We have the Juvenile Turf Sprint, the Juvenile Fillies, the Juvenile Fillies Turf, the Juvenile, and the Juvenile Turf. And I'll just say right off the bat, for those of you who like to play sequence betting, we will have a pick five at the end after all the races. But we're just concentrating more on individual races at a time. But be on the lookout at the end, and we'll have a pick five for you. So the first race is the Juvenile Turf Sprint, and I think this is a pretty wide open race. It usually is. There's a lot of ways to go, and from the field, we've culled it down to the A's, Crimson Advocate, and Big Evs. Probably Big Evs being my prime win candidate, and then the B's, we've got Tiger Bell and Valiant Force. And then for the C's to round it out, we've got Starlust. And I'm going to throw Give Me the Beat Boys in there. Now, I'm not overly high on this one, but one thing that I did think about is this one is cutting back in distance. And the fact that he has been fading late in a lot of his races, maybe this is what he needs. And I think he's got the class to compete. And at 15-1, we absolutely have to have value for a race like this. And then we're going to throw in Shards because I really did like that close from his last race, but I think he's going to have to do a lot better to factor in this race. But I think he's in good form and represents good value. And that's, again, can't stress that enough. We have to find value, particularly in races like this. So these are just some betting ideas that I've got for this race. I'm going to try to beat the favorites with Tiger Bell. Tiger Bell, to me, at 15-1 represents really good value. And I think this is a horse that, while not a deep closer, being just off the pace, if you Big Ebs, Crimson Advocate, No Name Mets, if they all beat each other up, this one could be right there. And I think this is a distance that really works for this horse. And I like the price, and I think it might even go up a little bit from there when some of the chalk get beat down a little bit. So we'll go for a win bet with Tiger Bell, and hopefully we'll strike it there. We're also going to, I think an exacta key box would work pretty well. We'll key the 4 Big Evs because I do think he's the most likely to win this race. I just watching those replays, the way he breaks from the gate, he's going to have a monster edge over a lot of these, and he's fast as hell. So if he can handle the turn, he might just walk off with this. So we'll key Big Evs in a key box with the 1, 3, and 10 Valiant Force, who did win the Norfolk earlier at Royal Ascot at a shorter distance, and he will be coming from off the pace, and I think that sets up well for him. And at 12-1, again, getting value. If you want to go to a trifecta, I would key Big Evs again, the 4, with 1, 3, 10, with 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 10. Those are our A, B, and C's. And then, the superfecta, we could pretty much follow suit the same way. I'll leave that up to you. That would be, to me, in a race that is as fairly balanced as this one is, fairly wide open. I think that would be a really aggressive bet to try to hit the super. But if you want to do it, have at it. I think the try is a little aggressive for this, to be honest. I know a lot of you play the doubles, so I would just go 1, 3, 4 with Tamara, who will single from the Juvenile Fillies in the next race. And then if you want to do a pick 3, I got a couple of options for you. You can go 1, 3, 4 from this race with Tamara, and then spread for the Juvenile Fillies Turf, which I think is a race that you need to spread in. So that's one way to go. So you go 1, 3, 4 with 7, with 6, 9, 11, 14. And then if you want to try to beat Tamara, and I'll reiterate that I have heard that she is not training the greatest right now. And I know she'll scratch if Dick Mandela sees any irregularities of any kind, because he's that kind of trainer. But Mike Welsh has said he really hasn't liked what he's seen. So let's try to beat Tamara with an alternate ticket. We're going to go 1, 3, 4 from the Turf Sprint. Then we'll take 2, 12, and 13. And you notice I left Candied off of there. And the main reason is her odds are going to be really short. So if we're going to beat Tamara, let's do it with some value. And with the 2, 12, and 13, who we'll talk about in the next race, you're getting decent prices. And that's what I'm looking for. And then from the Juvenile Fillies Turf, we'll use 6, 9, 11, and 14, and hope we can get the 14 Le Pavot in, who should be a nice overlay at 15 to 1 or better. So those are just some basic betting ideas I've got for the Juvenile Turf Sprint. And, I think this is a race that requires a little bit of creativity. And I think we can play around a little bit and hope for a big score because of the balanced nature of this race. Big Evs looks awful good to me as a win candidate, but I don't think it's a lock, and particularly in this big field in a turf sprint with all this speed and the 2-year-olds, I think we've got to try to find value. So for me, I'm hoping Tiger Bell comes through with a big race. So now we'll take a look at the Juvenile Fillies, and that's the 6th race. And from the field, we've narrowed it down to, of course, Tamara is our A, and we're going to single in most of the sequence betting. I think it's, if you really look at this race, it's her and I don't know what much else really in many respects, because you're just not going to get decent value in anybody who beats her, and then she finishes second. I don't know. I just think this is a race that's, to me, very hard to bet other than in the sequence betting. For the Bs, of course, we're going to use Candied, and Jody's Pride has a lot of interest to me, because if she does turn into the kind of horse that she's looked like so far, if she can do it around 2 turns, and Tamara isn't training well, as we've noted, then maybe she can steal it on the front end. It's entirely possible from the 2-hole. And at 15 to 1, you're going to get some decent value. And then we're going to use just FYI. I like the way this one's progressing. The 12-hole isn't the greatest spot in the world, but good horses can overcome things like that. So just FYI, we definitely want to use. And then to fill out the field, our C's, we're going to use Alley's Beach for the odds, 30 to 1, and Life Talk at 20 to 1. Life Talk I'm really not keen on, to be honest, but does have the potential to get better. And at 20 to 1, you're getting the price, but I think underneath is more likely. So that's what our A, B, and C's look like, but we're going to heavily emphasize Tamara. And look at the betting ideas. I think if you want to try to make some money and beat Tamara, I think Jody's Pride is a really good place to start. You're getting 15 to 1 or better for a horse that's displayed a lot of raw speed. And if for some reason Tamara falters, Jody's Pride, if she can get 2 turns, and that's an issue too, because it hasn't done it before, you're getting a really nice price and could steal it. If you wanted to do something in the exotics, maybe an exacta, but what I would do is use Tamara on top and then absolutely have to have odds on the bottom. There's no point in a Candied Tamara exacta to me. It won't pay anything. And just FYI, really wouldn't pay that much either. But if you can get Jody's Pride, Alley's Beach, or Life Talk, one of those 3 in the mix, that should have been a 13 instead of a 3. Sorry about that. Then you've got a nice payout. You got a nice exacta, and so that's the way I would go. The doubles, I think you can definitely use. If you do just a $1 double, it's only a $4 ticket. And the Juvenile Fillies Turf, I think, promises to return some value, because I don't see any real short prices, really short prices coming out of that race, because it's a big field, and I think it's fairly wide open. So I would go a double there. And then if the pick threes, I'll give you a couple options. One using Tamara and one not using her. And obviously, you're going to spend a little more money on that pick three not using Tamara, but obviously you're going to get odds and it's going to pay. So if you want to take the risk reward, you risk a little bit more, spend a little bit more money, but you're going to get paid on the back end. So the first pick three would be 7 singled with 6, 9, 11, 14 from the Juvenile Fillies Turf, and then 1, 4, 6, and 10. And if you want to get bold, you could even throw in the 9 Fierceness. If for some reason she or he decides to return to his maiden form, then you probably get a decent price. But I want to keep the ticket economical and a little more conservative than that. The same can be said if you want to try to beat Tamara. I'd use 2, 12, and 13 for the value, and then 6, 9, 11, 14, and then from the juvenile, 1, 4, 6, and 10. And if you want to be bold, you could throw on the 9 as well. So now let's look at the Juvenile Fillies Turf, the 7th race. And from the field, we've narrowed it down to these. The A's are Carla's Way, Porta Fortuna, and She Feels Pretty, and that's the American, and I like her chance. She's got a good chance in this one. For the B's, Le Pavot, I really think is the only one who could maybe almost be an A, but I'm not quite sold all the way. And then the C's are mainly just to fill out the field. Content, the understanding is that he probably needs to step up his game to be a contender in this race, but could still get in under the money. Gayla Brand, I love the closing. I just think she needs to be a little faster. And then Loln, he's another one that, from what I understand, he probably needs to step up his game a little bit, but he should be coming late. And I'd like his price to be a little better before I invest too heavily in him. But that's what we look like. Those are our A, B's, and C's. Now, if we go to the wagering, we'll see that I like Carla's Way. That's the horse I like. I think you're getting a really nice price at 6-1. I really liked her prep race leading into this, and she looks like she's ready to fire another big one. So that's my key, and I'm going to go with a win bet. I think at 6-1 you get a nice bet. Then for an exacta, I would use Carla's Way in a key box with 6, 11, and 14. Then for the try, I'd key. You could do a trifecta key if you want, or you can do it straight, however you'd like to stagger it. But I'd go Carla's Way, the number 9 on top, and then I'd take my A's and Le Pavot, my other A's. So it's 9 with 6, 11, and 14, and then fill it out with the B's and C's. The A, B's, and C's, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, and 14. And I think that's a reasonable trifecta wager. As you know, the super, I think you want, again, if you want to go for it, fine. Maybe, I think there's going to be some decent value in this race. But it's not really me, but I could see you going for it, certainly. The exotics, you can't really single for the next 3 races, in my opinion. So I would just look at a double and take the one that you like the best. For me, it's going to be Carla's Way, and I'm going to single her and then use in the juvenile 1, 4, 6, 9, and 10. And like I said, Fierceness, I'm throwing in there because then it makes it a $5 ticket at a minimum. So why not? And if you get through Carla's Way, then you've got 5 options. And I don't think any of them are going to be too terribly short, so it could turn into a really nice double. And like I said, pick 3s, pick 4s. You're not going to be able to, the next 3 races, it's going to be really hard to single any one horse. And so consequently, I wouldn't do it, but if you want to, have at it. But I think this is a sensible wagering strategy with this race. So here's a look at the juvenile, the 8th race. And from the field, of course, the Coronillo has scratched, and I was kind of hoping to have have him available for underneath for the value. But this race is, I think, is fairly top heavy, and it's also fairly wide open. And as you can from the field, you look at the odds for all the players that I consider to be the top five to work with. They aren't separated by much price wise. The Wine Steward being the one you get the best value with. Um, so separating them A, B, and C is kind of difficult because I think the main thing you can see that I have done is I'm not considering Prince of Monaco. I'm just going to toss it because I do have a feeling the distance might be an issue. I could be completely wrong, but that's my gut feeling about it. So if we look at the A's, I think Timberlake and Locked, to me, represent the best that I've seen so far. The Wine Steward is just a hair below them, and I love the grit on that horse, and you'll see what we'll do with him in a second. And then Muth, I like Muth. I like what he's doing. He just hasn't faced a lot in California, so it's really more the fact the others are more battle tested. And then we're going to throw Fierceness in there. Now, I think he's an underlay given that last race at 6-1. But you do have that potential if he returns back to his maiden form. He could be awful tough on the front end in here. So we're going to use him. And just note there isn't a lot of what I consider to be great value in this race. You've got some reasonable prices, but you don't have any great overlays, except maybe I think the Wine Steward is probably the best one. So from a wagering perspective, exotic or sequence wise, doubles and pick threes, you kind of got to spread a fair amount in this race. So with the Juvenile Turf coming up behind it, another race that isn't that is a big field that requires a little spreading too. I don't know that you want to consider any sequences from that perspective, at least not the doubles or the pick threes. So here's what I've come up with. I don't know that a win bet is. I can't get really. I mean, I like Locked a lot, but at 7-2, a win bet, that's just not enough for me, price wise. I would key an exacta key box with Locked on top, and then use the 1, 4, 9, and 10, and it still should pay decently, but just like a little more value. So then you can go to a trifecta and you just key Locked on top and go 1, 4, 9, 10 with 1, 4, 9, 10. Now, my gut is that the Wine Steward of all the horses in here is the one most likely to get in the money. Not to win it, but to get in the money. So the way to attack that is if you're like me, where you think it's a little top heavy and it's kind of hard to differentiate amongst the best horses, you can back key a trifecta where you can use the Wine Steward to finish second or third. And then, if you want to, of course, you can put them on top if you want to. But this is another way to spread the risk out a little bit, assuming or guaranteeing that you're going to get the Wine Steward in the money, and he doesn't necessarily have to win, and you get some nice value with him. So that might be a tactic I would try. But as far as the sequence betting, I don't really think a double makes a lot of sense because you got to spread in 2 straight races. And of course, if you want to put a win bet down on the one that you really like, I certainly wouldn't discourage you from doing that. I think 7-2, 4-1 are all pretty good prices. I just don't see a bomb in this race, so I think it's going to be a really top heavy race. And from my perspective, I hope that Prince of Monaco is backing up in the stretch, which is what I think he'll do. So. That's what I'm going to do with the Juvenile. So now let's take a look at the Juvenile Turf. And I think this race is a little top heavy, and it basically comes down to 2 of the European shippers, River Tiber or Unquestionable. I think they're the top 2, and they're considerably better than the other horses, with the exception of Endlessly, I think, is one that's got a lot of talent, and has, from the Americans, has the potential to upset the apple cart. So from the field, our A's are River Tiber, number 2, and Unquestionable, number 4. And then Endlessly as a B, number 9. And then we're going to throw in Tok Tok because he's still a little bit of an unknown, but I really thought he ran the best race in the Pilgrim last time and just was unlucky. And so I think if he builds on that, you're going to get an overlay at 20-1. So I want to throw him in there. And then to fill out the field, I'm not as confident about Stay Hot coming out of a maiden moving into a graded stakes, but this one seems to be progressing pretty well, and you're getting a 20-1 value, so like that. And then Carson's Run, who I don't think is fast enough to beat the top 2 Europeans, but is a good, solid closer. I like the last race up in Canada, and I think certainly can finish underneath, and of the American closers is definitely the best one in my opinion. And a note, if you didn't know already, Liam's Journey has scratched, so probably would have tried to put him in the mix at 30-1, but he's not in the field. So from that group, this is what I think we can do. I'm going to throw a win bet on Tok Tok for the value, 20-1, nothing else, and see what we can come up with, and if it comes through, great. If not, we nothing ventured, nothing gained. I think you can safely box the 2 A's, 2 and 4, and that still at 3-1 and 4-1. If you can get prices close to that, then that looks pretty good. Then I throw a wild exact in there to try to make some money out of this race. So I'll put Tok Tok 3 on top, and then I'll use the 2 Europeans and round out with the B's and C's. So 2, 4, 6, 9, and 14. And because I think it's down to these 2 Europeans, I think you can get a little more precise with your trifectas. I'd go 2, 4, 2, 4 with 3, 6, 9, and 14, and then do another one with 2, 4 on top, 3, 6, 9, 14 in the middle, and then 2 and 4 on the end. And of course, you can do the next one if you want, which would be 3, 6, 9, 14, 3, 6, 9, 14 with 2, 4. But to me, that's a little unlikely. I think it's safe to say that at least one of these Europeans is going to be in the mix. It is going to win it. That's my feeling, so that's my strategy. And then throw a superfecta in there if you want to go really bold at 2, 4, 2, 4 with 3, 6, 9, 14, 3, 6, 9, 14. This is a race I think is more is more helpful for sequence betting. I think you can knock it down to just these 2. I'm probably going to spread a little bit more than that, throw Endlessly and Tok Tok in there. So if I can get a price home, then all the better. But this to me is a much like the Juvenile Fillies. This is more a race useful for sequence betting, but you do have some exotic options too, and we'll see. So as promised, here's what the pick 5 would look like. And you can see to the left, I've noted all the A's, B's, and C's from each race as we discussed earlier. And this is what a pick 5 ticket for me would look like. In Lake 1, the 5th race of Juvenile Turf Sprint, I think is a wide open race, and you could go 7 deep if you wanted to, or maybe more. But I'm going to use 1, 3, 4, 5, and 10. And then we're going to single Tamara in the 6 in the Juvenile Fillies, and I think you have to find a single for this pick 5. Otherwise, it just becomes a cost-prohibitive ticket. I'm not confident, I have to add. I'm not really that psyched up about using Tamara when I hear she's not training well. But we're going to roll the dice, and if she does run as expected, then all fears will be relieved. Number 3, the leg 3 in the 7th race in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. We're going to use 6, 9, 11, and 14. I think that is a spread race, much like the Juvenile Turf Sprint. And then in the Juvenile, we're going to use 4, 6, and 10. I could easily throw in the Wine Steward or Fierceness into that as well. But again, trying to keep it economical And I think the wine steward's use is more underneath in the exotics, as I mentioned earlier. And fierceness, I'm just not willing to throw in there because I think there's a little too much uncertainty for me. But we'll find ways to make money with him if he comes back and runs the way he possibly can. And then finally, in the leg five, the Juvenile Turf. As I mentioned, I think it's Unquestionable or River Tiber. It's one of those two, but I'm going to throw in Endlessly as well. Maybe we get a little bit of a price. I do like that horse and thinks has a chance. If you wanted to sub out Endlessly for Tok Tok, I could definitely see it, and certainly if you do, you're going to get paid. But there's some value in this pick five for sure. I think primarily we need it coming from legs 1 and 3, but hopefully we can get a successful ticket home and get paid.
So that's some betting options for you for Breeders' Cup Friday. The Breeders' Cup offers a lot of betting opportunity, that's for sure, and just giving you some ideas on how perhaps to play these races. I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and of course, I'll wish you the best of luck. And if you do like content like this, of course, please like and subscribe. It does help to keep us going, and we really appreciate the support that we've received from y'all lately. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Can't stress that enough. So we will have a betting strategy posting for Saturday as well, so be on the lookout for that. Stay tuned. Talk to you soon, and until then, be well.